Hi, I'm Mélisande de Bruget of Diagnostic Imaging Europe, and I'm here with Professor Andrea Rockall from Imperial College London. She is ECR2025 President, and I'm so happy that this is her first interview in this new role. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Mélisande. Thank you so much for the interview.
Of course. So, why should radiology be a driver of change in achieving sustainability in healthcare, in your opinion?
Well, we know that climate change is here. All of us have seen the impacts already. It's not in the future, it's now. And radiology is a very innovative and change-compliant type of speciality. We've had massive change throughout even my own single career. And we also know that radiology has quite a high carbon footprint, partly because of the data storage side of things, partly because of big equipment that are very energy intensive. And we have an opportunity of making change through leadership and finding simple ways, as well as planning for the more strategic, longer term changes that have to be made. I really think that our community is really actively changing all the time, and we will be great at making this improvement. I know we will.
Oh, for sure. And which activities are you currently planning from the ESR?
Well, we just had 2 new committees within the Executive Council come live, and one of them, the Young Committee, is going to have a subcommittee purely on sustainability. That's being headed up by my colleague, Dr. Sarah Sheard. She's also from Imperial College London, where I practice. And she is absolutely passionate, but not only passionate, but knowledgeable about sustainable practice. So I'm absolutely thrilled that she's taken on the role. And we have a few projects that we need to get initiated now. The group has been brought together. We're in the early stages, but I think there's a lot of ideas and a lot of enthusiasm about getting this off the ground quickly.
Wonderful. At your Department of Radiology, what do you concretely do to conserve the resources?
Well, we've had some great projects that have been very, very successful. One of them was driven, again, through our imaging department sustainability group. We have a whole range of stakeholders, and the radiographers brought a fantastic project, which was improving the waste of from the contrast giving sets for CT, where all of the tubing, etc., was all going into the very high carbon, high cost sharp spin. And actually the only part of the tubing that should go in the sharp spin is the very end section, this much. Wow. And the rest of the tubing, etc., can actually go in a different waste stream. So the other aspect is that the contrast that's left behind in the bottle going into the environment is problematic. So we had a whole program where the contrast is now collected by the provider. The glass bottles, we had a meeting with the municipal waste, and we rinse out the glass bottles and put them into the glass recycling. We have an intermediate recycling for the plastic tubing, and actually we only have 2% now of the previous amount of waste going into the sharp spin. So that's massively reduced our carbon impact and massively reduced our waste costs. So there are savings to be had. The other big saving we had was that in fact, not at the department level, but at the institutional level, they brought in a software which automatically switches off machines that are not in use in non-working hours. And then when people turn them on, if there's any software updates or security updates, they all happen in the background at night. It can be centrally organized. And that saved the institution a £500,000 in approximately a year. So we've made massive savings just by turning off our normal everyday computers. But there's more to be done. We've got to be learning to turn off all our scanners, and we need to get some automated systems in there to help people with this task. There's lots to do, but there's some easy things we can all do in our own departments.
Wonderful, and I'm glad to hear you had such concrete results with your plans. What do you recommend radiology departments do, actually?
Well, because there's quite a few different things that departments can achieve, but each department is different. So what I always suggest is that the first step is to get together a group, of multi-stakeholder group with radiologists, managers, radiographers, physicists, and say, let's form a sustainability group. Ideally, somebody needs to chair that group who sits in the departmental management board so that it's taken seriously. And then they can brainstorm and identify in their own setting, in their own department, what things do we think that we can achieve, that we can get buy-in for, and we can actually see the change and celebrate the change, you know? So I think bringing together, I don't want to tell people what to do. Get your group together, and find the things that you think you can achieve. And then I think that really creates an enthusiasm for more projects. The other thing I love doing is getting the medical students involved in projects on sustainability. And, it's a nice way to introduce them to radiology and see everything that's going in the department. And they often want to do these small projects to get things on their CV. So, using medical students to get involved is also a great idea.
Yeah, a very sustainable one on top of that. On the industry side, what do you expect vendors to do to promote green radiology?
Well, to be honest, they're all over it. I mean, they're already making massive changes. So we can see a lot of circularity with the reuse and refurbishment of old machines that you really can't tell the difference between the old and the new. We have changes in transportation, in packaging, in the way that they're creating their workflows in their own factories. And, everybody in the industry exhibition here is talking about sustainability already. Yeah. So I'm so excited that they're on board with the theme for next year's ECR. I'm just thrilled.
So looking in the near future, what can we expect at ECR 2025 in terms of sustainability?
Well, I'm so excited to announce the theme of ECR 2025. I can't wait. The concept came through the publication around planetary health that came out about 10 years ago. The concept is that without a healthy planet, we humans cannot stay healthy. So we're an ecosystem joined together. And so because of my passion and interest in sustainable radiology, as well as patient access to care, I decided to call the Congress Planet Radiology, which we can see on this beautiful poster. And the poster is supposed to be a planet floating in the galaxy, and we have trees and organic material, but it's the heart that's floating there in the galaxy. And of course, the ECR creative team have done a super job as ever. So what I'm trying to encourage in all of the streams of the Congress is that we have a thought to sustainable practice in really whatever we're doing. So how can we change what we're doing? Correct decision support. Are we doing the right test for the right patient? Because repeating tests is very carbon impactful. Are we storing data in the best way possible? And also how are we using contrast media? How can we improve or reduce the level of contrast media that we're getting into the environment? But also on the other side is the whole societal benefit of radiology and challenges with access to care. And so I'm encouraging a whole program. The InFocus program is going to be called Imagers Fixing the World. And that's based on a BBC journalistic program called People Fixing the World, where they look at problems and they find solutions. So we're looking for people with great ideas where there's a difficult challenge. For example, perhaps there's an area with high TB, but there's no radiology or X-ray. So we've got mobile X-ray machines going into a community. Or perhaps there's educational needs in a place where these are challenges. And I'm trying to find all people that are doing these great projects that I want to shine a light on and really, give them an opportunity to tell everybody about these great societal benefits that they're providing through their work. So I can't wait.
That sounds wonderful, I have to say. Thank you so much, Professor Rockall, for your time. And thank you for watching. Mélisande Rouget signing off for Diagnostic Imaging Europe. Bye.